Hey everyone, welcome back to my another video. Today we are going to watch The Amazing Spider-Man 1. It is a 2012 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics. It is a reboot of the series following Sam Raimi's 2002 to 2007 Spider-Man trilogy and the first of the two The Amazing Spider-Man films. If you want to watch Tobey's Spider-Man trilogy, I will give you link of that video in description. So without wasting any further time, let's get into it. A young Peter Parker sees that his father's study has been turned upside down, as if someone was searching for something. His father comes in and starts panicking. He gathers some useful documents and takes his wife with him and leaves after dropping off Peter with Aunt May and Uncle Ben. Peter's parents leave without any explanation. Time passes and Peter becomes a really smart but shy and introverted high school student. He keeps to himself and tries to stay out of trouble. But he is often bullied by Flash Thompson. He stands up to Flash when he tries to bully someone else and catches the eye of Gwen Stacy. Flash beats him up, but Gwen still praises Peter for his bravery. Peter is more than happy to receive a compliment from his high school crush. At home, Uncle Ben hands Peter a briefcase that belonged to Peter's father. Peter finds his father's papers and learns that his father worked with a scientist named Dr. Connors at Oscorp in the field of cross-species mutation. He looks over the news of his parents' death in a plane. To get more information about his father, Peter decides to sneak into Oscorp. There, he sees Gwen, who is working as an intern under Dr. Connors. She immediately realizes that Peter should not be here, but does not rat him out. Peter finds himself in a lab where a biocable is under development from genetically modified radioactive spiders. Suddenly, they start to rain on him. One of them even bites him. On the subway ride home, Peter has a run-in with a gang of thugs and discovers that he suddenly has increased agility and strength. Upon returning home, he finds the spider hiding in his jacket and stores it away. He later discovers that he has developed spider-like abilities such as super strength, sharp senses, reflexes, agility, and speed. The next day, Peter goes to Dr. Connors' house and gives him his father, Richard Parker's documents. Dr. Connors explains that he and Richard were researching cross-species genetics in order to find a way to regrow lost limbs, Dr. Connors being motivated by the loss of his own right arm. Dr. Connors reveals that he is frustrated because his superior, Dr. Rajat Ratha, is pressuring him to devise a cure for Oscorp CEO Norman Osborn, who is terminally ill. Later on, the serum that the doctor is trying to create is referred to as Lizard Serum. At school, during a basketball game, Flash displays his best skills, which is bullying. The ball comes into the possession of Peter. Flash comes to get it back, but Peter uses his newfound powers to make a fool out of Flash. He bullies Flash for all the times Flash has bullied him and anyone else in the school. Peter gets in trouble after accidentally breaking the basketball board while trying to score over Flash. Uncle Ben is forced to switch a work shift to meet with the principal about the situation. He is upset at Peter for trying to humiliate his classmate. Meanwhile, Gwen comes to talk to Peter after class and they decide to go on a date sometime soon. Afterwards, Uncle Ben asks Peter to pick up Aunt May, but Peter instead practices his newfound powers and meets with Dr. Connors at Oscorp, who shows him how the limb regeneration formula works on a laboratory mouse. Peter looks really impressed with the equipment used by Dr. Connors, as he had seen similar pictures in his dad's office. When Peter returns home, Uncle Ben scolds him for having forgotten to pick up Aunt May. Uncle Ben refers to Peter as son, and that's a really nice thing. He reminds him that Richard believed that people should always make their responsibilities their priority. The distraught Peter gets angry and storms off. Aunt May tells Uncle Ben to let him be alone for a little while and it will be alright, but Uncle Ben goes after Peter. Peter goes to a store to buy milk, but he does not have enough money as he falls short by only 2 cents. The store clerk refuses him. A man robs the store and throws Peter his milk. Peter doesn't do anything to stop him despite having superhuman abilities. Uncle Ben, who is searching for Peter, sees the thief running away and wrestles with him over a gun. Uncle Ben tries to stop the thief, which was the right thing to do, but the thief shoots Uncle Ben and runs off. Peter is in disbelief as he loses yet another father figure. The most difficult thing about every Spider-Man has to be the loss of the kind and supportive uncle. Peter gathers the strength to tell Aunt May and the two of them cry inconsolably. The next day, Flash comes to Peter and he quickly pins him to the locker. But Flash is actually there to sympathize and says he's sorry. Gwen also hugs him. But nothing can console Peter and he leaves. Shortly after the attack, Peter gets his hands on a police sketch of the killer and hunts criminals matching his description. He searches for the killer everywhere, and in the process, he finds out that he has wall-crawling abilities. He also prevents many crimes in the town while looking for the killer. After one such run-in with some random criminals, he falls inside an abandoned wrestling ring, reminiscent of Bonesaw. A wrestling poster inspires him to create a mask to hide his identity. This way, he can protect Aunt May and anyone else close to him. Later on, he adds a spandex suit for mobility and suddenly becomes a local hero who the public refers to as Spider-Man due to his spider-like ability to shoot webs out of his hand. The police, led by Gwen's father, Captain George Stacy, soon start a manhunt for the masked vigilante. They believe that Spider-Man is taking things into his own hands and breaking multiple laws in the process. Even though he is fighting crimes in the neighborhood, he is still bound by the law. Meanwhile, Dr. Ratha fires Dr. Connors for refusing to immediately start human trials of the limb regeneration formula. Dr. Ratha takes a sample of the drug and plans to test it at a Veterans Administration hospital under the guise of flu shots. Growing desperate, Dr. Connors injects himself with the formula and passes out. Peter sneaks into Gwen's room, but Captain Stacy also arrives just then. He invites Peter to dinner. Captain Stacy reprimands the actions of Spider-Man, but Peter defends him. Suddenly, he gets an emergency call. Peter also goes out. Upon awakening, Dr. Connors sees that his lost arm has fully regenerated. However, he then mutates into a large, reptilian monster and chases Dr. Ratha at the Williamsburg Bridge, throwing cars over the side as he rampages. Spider-Man arrives at the scene, and he saves each fallen car with a biocable web, which he deploys from wrist-mounted shooters of his own invention. In the scuffle, Spidey finds a boy trapped in a car. He gives the boy his mask, giving him courage long enough to save him. Spidey then confronts the lizard in the sewers, barely escaping alive. He goes to Gwen, who treats his wounds. Unfortunately, Spidey left behind a camera he used to take the lizard's pictures. The lizard manages to find it and learns Spider-Man's real identity. He then finds out more details about Peter, including his address and his school. He attacks Peter and they fight all over the school. Gwen gets caught in the fight, but Peter manages to save her by dangling her. More on that coming soon. Peter goes to Lizard Sewer hideout and realizes that he has plans to unleash the drug all over Manhattan to mutate all humans into lizards using a cloud-generating device at Oscorp Tower. So, Peter requests Gwen to make an antidote. The police mobilize to stop Lizard, but Lizard has super healing properties and infects the officers with the chemical. Captain Stacy learns Spider-Man's real identity and allows him to go stop Connors. Peter mentions that Gwen is at the Oscorp Tower making antidotes, so Captain Stacy goes there. However, one policeman accidentally shoots Spidey, which wounds him. He is unable to use his body properly and is having difficulty swinging. The father of the young boy whose life Spidey saved earlier works in construction and hears about what's going on through the radio and TV while working an evening shift. Since Spidey is not in full functioning, the man decides to help Spider-Man as a gesture of gratitude. He calls all of his construction worker friends who are also working, and they all maneuver large cranes into proper formation so that Spidey can use them to reach Oscorp Tower. Even the traffic police clear the way for him. Captain Stacy retrieves the antidote from Gwen and goes to save Spidey, who is being overpowered by the lizard. He distracts the lizard, but Lizard mortally wounds Captain Stacy. Meanwhile, Spidey modifies the machine to disperse the antidote instead of the poison, restoring the humanity of Connors and the infected officers. Dr. Connors then saves Peter from a fatal fall from the tower. Spidey goes to Captain Stacy, who says that he has faith in Spider-Man, but he will make enemies. Before he dies of his wounds, Captain Stacy makes Peter promise to keep Gwen safe by staying away from her. Peter initially does so, staying out of sight at Captain Stacy's funeral, which offends Gwen. She confronts him at his house, and he doesn't talk about it, but Gwen is no fool, she realizes his reasons. Gwen takes time accepting it at first, but she makes peace with it soon. Peter plays an audio message from Uncle Ben while walking around the city. At school, he and Flash are actually starting to warm up to each other. When he reaches class late, Peter is told by a teacher to not make promises he can't keep. Peter leans forward and whispers to Gwen, "Those are the best kind." She smiles, indicating that the two resume their relationship. Peter then officially takes to the streets as a proper hero. In the post-credit scene, Dr. Connors is sitting in a prison cell speaking with a mysterious man. The man asks some questions to Dr. Connors about giving up information about Peter's father, but Dr. Connors tells the man to leave Peter alone. The man disappears in a flash of lightning. And that is how this movie ends. So tell me your opinions about this movie in comments section. Next movie will be The Amazing Spider-Man 2, so for staying notified subscribe to my channel and don't forget to give a thumbs up. Goodbye.